everyone seemed to decide Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay from AEW Dynasty on April 21st, 2024 was a great match before it even started, based on their amazing pedigrees. The crowd rightfully treated this as the main event, even though it was one of the only non-title matches and came on midway through the 4-hour pay-per-view. I was extremely excited about this match too, especially with Ospreay proving to be the rare AEW wrestler who can both move the dial in a positive direction and actually justify his push once the bell rings. These two are so damn good from every physical and technical perspective that they made each other look better at every turn. They have great wrestling instincts, reacting to each other quicker and more precisely than others are capable of, and executing everything with the utmost stiffness, athleticism, body control, and technical precision. I assumed Danielson was going to figure out a way to lead Will in a manner that forced him to be creative and pushed him to an even higher level, though. I think Danielson mostly did his part in providing the potential for this to be better than it wound up being, but Will being content to just do his thing kept the match from being truly memorable. The first half saw Danielson control as a means of setting up Will utilizing his athleticism to thwart Danielson's attempts at technical wrestling, proving the superiority of his action style. Danielson's offense was thus somewhat irrelevant, as while he built the segments up, the payoff was Ospreay's impressive athletic escape. Danielson tried to tell different stories, creating 2 injuries by countering Will's favorite moves with a middle kick. A swan dive attack early on causing a rib injury, and a hidden blade later resulting in an elbow injury. Will didn't really contribute to these stories though, and even though Danielson was putting him in different positions and doing a different style than Will was, Ospreay just came back recycling his usual moves through his usual predictable setups. The second half was more about Will having things to do, and of course this stuff was fun and looked great, as he's such a next level athlete that basically everything he does other than the hidden blade looks awesome, but there was a better and more entertaining match that could have been had. Performing everything better because they were being aided by a more gifted opponent wasn't enough to push what was ultimately another exhibition of Ospreay's moves to the level of greatness, much less anywhere near the quality of even the far lesser of the Danielson vs. Zack Sabre Jr. matches from October 1st, 2023, which certainly isn't the greatest match to ever take place in the United States, but might at least be the best AEW match if it's not the Lucha Brothers vs. the Young Bucks from August 31st, 2019, or Kenny Omega vs. El Hijo del Vikingo from March 22nd, 2023. Will also has several matches with Sabre that are far better than this. Will ranks below Sabre because while he's the pinnacle of flash and an incredibly hard and consistent worker, he has no substance and has become repetitive. Ospreay will do enough things to make every one of his matches reasonably good, and granted there aren't many people who are having consistently entertaining matches these days, but when Will isn't wrestling someone better like Kenny Omega or Sabre, who can push him outside of his comfort zone while reining in his excesses, and keep his match off rails, it'll just default to however many minutes of randomly plowing through momentarily impressive moves until Will hits the one that should remain hidden. I'd rate Danielson above Sabre because he has more variety. Danielson's ability to do a high-level match that doesn't lean heavily on his technical style means he doesn't require an opponent who actually knows how to engage him in the dying art of technical wrestling the way Zack does in order to keep his offense from defaulting to posing an opponent who is having trouble just following, much less reacting in a manner where they can actually add something to Zack's grappling game. Zack does some key things that make his matches against these two better than what we saw here though. Most importantly, Sabre imposes his style, fluid technical wrestling, and forces them to switch things up and actually work to make the match evolve as naturally as possible out of Zack's technical setups into what they want to do offensively. While Danielson was also using technical wrestling, he demanded a lot less from Will by actively building to a single movement or counter, allowing Will to escape rather than working a whole sequence of counters. Danielson often made it even easier for Will, just feeding his usual setups even though they didn't have much to do with the domain Danielson was contesting the match in, or the stories Danielson was purportedly telling, leaving Will free to do his thing. Their matches against Sabre feel a lot less cooperative, with more steps required to create a well-earned counter, and a greater urgency to stay on the opponent to try to get the win. Will did a better dive here, and they busted out a few special spots, such as Danielson's Avalanche Tiger Suplex, Ospreay landing on his feet for an Avalanche Frankensteiner, and Will's Oscutter and Hidden Blade off the apron. They also did some things they probably wouldn't get around to in a 15-minute TV match, as they were clearly trying for a match of the year, but for the most part this was what you expected from them in every great and disappointing way. Will's Oscutter was countered as always, in this case both into an armbar and a Busaiku knee, but there wasn't much that actually felt surprising or unique to this new matchup. I thought the better stuff came when they did engage more with one another, such as Danielson turning a powerbomb into a hurricanrana, a move he almost never uses without the top rope being involved, or Will using ground and pound to fight off the label lock. There were some brutal strikes here, particularly Danielson's straight punches to the injured ribs. Will finding a way to use his Styles Clash to escape Danielson's triangle was more along the lines of what I was hoping for from this match, as that was a different way unique to this opponent for Will to hit one of his favorite moves. In a lot of ways, Ospreay vs. Konosuke Takeshita from AEW Revolution on March 3rd, 2024 was better than Ospreay vs. Danielson because being 10 minutes shorter forced them to keep things moving, and the sprint is much more suitable for Ospreay's video game style than the schizo sell huge or not at all stuff, where either way none of it will have any effect on him going forward. Also, the power versus speed match much more naturally emphasized the strength of both competitors in a structure that meshed better and flowed together more. If Will is just going to be Will, doing the 15 to 20 minute sprint that totally plays into that like Takeshita did feels more cohesive than putting him through the paces of aspects he unfortunately just doesn't care much about. I think the Danielson match was still ultimately a little better because as excellent as Takeshita is, Danielson is just that much better, even when he's mostly just having fun rather than crafting a match to his capabilities and getting a lot out of what he's doing. Eventually, Danielson joined in the fun of spamming great moves and doing the modern mix of overselling and no-selling, though this match still moved a lot better and had a lot less downtime than New Japan matches of comparable length. They did 2 Hidden Blade versus Busaiku knee jousts, but due to the impracticality of both actually trying their move at the same time, they'd just run at each other with one doing their finisher and the other charging into it like an idiot, or avoiding it and coming back with their weapon. This was whatever when they did it the first time and just moved on. Unfortunately, they decided to conclude this with a staring contest from opposite corners, setting up a corny suicide charge to end an otherwise equal match, and Danielson lost the duel, getting caught with the Hidden Blade. Will then gave him the devastating Tiger Driver 91, with Danielson doing his ridiculous seizure spasming while the ref called for the doctor. Will didn't see any of this because he was busy posing in the other direction, so he supposedly didn't know he was about to KO an already badly injured opponent with another Hidden Blade, which, as usual, connected in the weakest possible manner, if at all. Danielson stayed down so long pretending to be paralyzed, or whatever, that they eventually cut away to the video package for the Young Bucks vs. FTR. This was presumably giving Will a reason to retire the Tiger Driver 91 because opponents probably don't want to be taking it every match, especially as nothing more than a setup move. Perhaps giving him the opportunity to bring it back when absolutely necessary in big matches as Misawa intended. But even if it was mostly Danielson's fault, it was all in very bad taste, especially given the real-life complications Danielson had with his 2014 neck surgery. This was an excellent match. The best AEW match thus far in what's been a weaker 2024 for the struggling promotion, and possibly a top 10 AEW match of all time, which certainly is nothing to scoff at. The point is more that it was as good as it was because 2 of the most talented active wrestlers got to do their thing without constraints or interference, rather than because they did it somewhat optimally. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, but let's not get carried away here. I give this match 4 out of 5 stars.